last time we implemented making payment. So this time, let's try to implement cancel a RSVP and refund if there was a payment. So let's try to go ahead and create a cancel status, because we do have a shared helper here, and we have this status here. We decided to use a constant string to expose different statuses. This is not really the only way. I do think that a better way to do this is to use enumeration, but since I decided to do this, I don't think it's too bad to use this. Let's continue using this. Let's create another one, and this time we will have a canceled. I don't know why it doesn't actually automatically. I'm starting to rely on AI now. So let's say canceled status. Just create one for me. Today it doesn't work. Okay, all right. So let's start doing this. It's canceled status, and let's just call it canceled. All right, and then let's go down over here. It should generate for me, but today it just doesn't want to do it. Not very reliable. So this is cancel status. Status goes to cancel status. So that's correct. Okay, so once we have a cancel status, some of the RSVP shouldn't be displayed. Of course, the not going to status and canceled status, is it canceled? Am I calling it correctly? So cancel status, the RSVPs with cancel status shouldn't be displayed. The only thing that should be displayed is going to status. I'm referring to the manage user event page there. So if we go to the features and go to manage user RSVP events, so right now, if we look at our services, we're loading all of the events belong to the user, right? So this is not accurate. We should, in this list, of course, we're loading upcoming and we're also loading the past events. But we also need to make sure that the EP status actually should be equal to shared helper space. Let's import a namespace. Okay, shared helper should be equal to going status. So this we need to fix. Now, let's think about different columns that we are actually missing in the RSVP entity. So we go to the RSVP entity, we only have payment. Coming back from Stripe after checkout, you actually have a payment status. Right now we are actually working with refund. We want to see both the payment status as well as the refund status. So this status refers to the RSVP status. It has going, not going, and it also has canceled. Whereas here we have a payment. Now we need to also store the payment status. So let's go ahead and try to store that payment status. So prop, we will have a payment status, and now I'm gonna have another one going to be a refund ID, right? Because we're going to try to do a refund, and paired with the refund ID, we will have a refund status as well. So we added these three different columns, and these will be used for refunding during the refunding process. Now, because we added this payment status, we also want to store the payment status after checkout. So that's something we also need to do. So let's go to the payment success. So making payment, we have a payment success page here, right? It comes up with a checkout, comes back with a checkout session ID, and then we grab the session by using Stripe API, and then we store the payment ID. But this time we also need to store the session dot. So why this is not giving me, okay, let me close the solution and reopen again. Sometimes it just start receiving the color coding comes back, and now what we need is a payment intent dot status. So this is a string. Yeah, this is string. So this is the one that we do need also store. Okay, so we are setting this as the last parameter, for the RSVP endpoint. So we created this RSVP endpoint last time. Where is it? So features, RSVP events, RSVP event endpoints. Okay, so we have this, and we pass in the payment intent. This is actually the payment intent ID. Now we also need to have another optional. Well, we can't have two optional parameters, can we? Yeah, we can have two consecutive optional parameters here. So this one will refer to the payment status, and it is also another optional parameter. So over here, we're going to add another optional parameter. This is payment status. It's trying to generate for me now. Okay, so I have this, and then I want to store this payment status over here. So I'm going to pass the payment status, and I'm going to go to the RSVP event async method here, and we will create another parameter, and this is the optional parameter. So payment status with a default value here, which is empty string. Now we're saving the payment status if there is a payment status. We're saving it anyway. If it comes in as an empty string, then we're storing the empty string. That's fine. Okay. All right. So that should fix the workflow. So let's go through that workflow again. When we have the endpoint, RSVP endpoint, when this endpoint is triggered after a payment, the payment status will come back in here, right? It will be called by the payment status, the payment success. So the workflow actually starts from here. This is when the payment is successful and it comes back to this particular page with a session ID, and we get the session, we get the payment intent, and it's a status, and we trigger the VP event endpoint, right? Which is this one. And then when this one is triggered, we pass in the payment status through the parameter. So we created root template parameter and then pass it in right here. And we also modify this service to take another optional parameter here. And if it's there, whether it's there or not, we are storing the payment status inside the RSVP table. Okay, so that's what we changed. But as I'm going through this process, I realized that first of all, here, this comment is incorrect. I just copied from the attendee authentication endpoints. So I got to remove this. And secondly, this endpoint can be vulnerable because anybody can access it by just typing in the URL on our website. And if they do that, it could be an attack. This endpoint can be constantly triggered by some robot. So how do we fix that? How do we make sure that it's safer, at least safer? We can say that here we require authorization. This will at least kick the user out if the user hasn't logged in yet. So we'll force the robot to do extra stuff, which the robot may or may not be able to do. So this at least adds another layer of safety. All right. So what we need to do now is to focus our energy on the cancel and refund. So in our case, our cancel should be triggered from this manage. So let me close this whole thing and open up the feature folder again. So we are focusing our energy on this manage user RSVP events because it's through this component. Do we see the cancel button? So here on the top, we have the upcoming events. Users can only cancel upcoming events, not the ones that were done before. So this actually makes me think that I'm missing some logic in my mind. So maybe we didn't. But in the RSVP endpoints here, when we want to cancel something, this is RSVP. Okay, so that's good. We haven't implemented cancellation yet. So when we actually try to implement a cancellation, we need to make sure that we only allow user to cancel past events. And yeah, that can be managed, no problems. Okay, so we have this button right now, right? We need to create another component and then put that component in a slice in order to supply us with this feature, right? This cancel and refund feature. And let's just call it cancel RSVP. Sounds like a good slice, right? So I'm going to change this to cancel RSVP. I know I haven't created this component yet, but I have a habit of writing something without actually implement it. So this is like a test-driven, similar to test-driven development. You create some error, you see the red squiggly line, and then you try to fix it, right? We do have the E, which is here. Right? We go to EV, and then we pass in the event ID, and then we close it. And of course, we haven't implemented this cancel RSVP component. And let me copy this. And we're going to create a new slice. Not in the folder. Under the features folder, we're going to create a new slice. And we're going to call it cancel. Let's actually paste this thing in here and remove the component. Now we can go ahead and try to create that component. right? So I'm just gonna do this and click on add this component. So what this component is gonna do is, first of all, I will mimic what we had before as a button. So let's go back to the manage user component over here, and I'm gonna copy this into my clipboard. And then I'm going to actually roll back because I don't remember what's supposed to be written here. Okay, and then I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to cast this one over to the other one. So to the cancel RSVP. So of course in here, this should be just a button, right? We should just have a button, and we don't have like a title. And when the user clicks on the button, we need to remind the user, are you sure? Like, we need to confirm with the user, are you sure you really want to delete and cancel the RSVP? So because of that, we're going to use the confirm dialog, right? And I'm going to refer to that as a confirm dialog. And now the AI kicks in. It tries to help me with writing my code. So cancel RSVP and messages. Are you sure you want to cancel your RSVP? Confirm. Do we really need to write all of this? We probably don't need the message and this unconfirmed thing. Let's just close it. Not sure why this is. Probably have to close solution again and then open it up. Okay, so now it's good. So enter the code block here. I gotta create this. Okay, it's automatically generating it, and it doesn't like it. Closed. Okay, so when the user triggers the cancel, unclick, and then I'm gonna say cancel RSVP. Right, and this corresponds to this one. It over here, all because so that's fine. And we're gonna use the confirm dialog. It doesn't have a show async. I believe it has a show. We don't need to use a wait because it's not actually async method. And here, we first of all need to make sure that we do have an event, because we're trying to cancel an event, right? And we created this parameter from outside already to receive that event ID here. And now I need to make sure that the event ID is greater than 0. Then I'm going to actually trigger this confirm dialog thing. So I'm going to copy this and we're going to delete this. Okay. And so in here, I can provide an action. So I'm going to say async goes to, I don't need complicated stuff. I just need to use it to generate me a curly braces. And then I'm going to use the cancel RSVP service to actually help me to cancel it. So let's go ahead and create a cancel RSVP service. So I'm going to add a class here and call it cancel RSVP service. And inside it, we need a method to help us to cancel the event. So I'm going to create that. It's generating me the constructor. That's fine. And then we'll have this method is also trying to generate it for me. Cancel RSVP async, that's fine. And we need to pass in event ID. I don't have a RSVP ID. I'm going to pass in the event ID. So can I pass in the RSVP event? That's a good question. We were at manage user RSVP events component right here. And we are clicking on this button within this component here. So right now, I only have a event. I don't have the RSVP, but can I get the RSVP? Right? I'm using the user ID and I got a list of events. Let's go inside here. This is the one that we changed. So we included the RSVP of the event, but one event can have many RSVPs. I think it's better just to use a event ID and the user ID. This will help us to locate the RSVP anyways, right? Because a user cannot RSVP the same event twice. There can be only one RSVP. So event ID and user ID is good enough for me. Perhaps not user ID because we don't have user ID. Do we have user ID? I actually forgot. Do we have user ID stored in the cookie? So let's go to shared. Let's go to endpoints and we have authentication endpoints. And when we create the cookie, this is the user ID. We do have the user ID. Okay. Yeah, we can use the user ID then. And let's delete this. So what do we need to do here? We need to, first of all, use the event ID and user ID to get the RSVP. So we need to first get the RSVP for the event and the user. And that's actually, okay. So this comment actually reminds me that I don't have to check it. I need to make sure the RSVP that I got is in the going status. We cannot allow user to cancel the same thing twice. So we need to make sure it's in the going status. And in order to actually get RSVP, we need to use database. So therefore, dependency context factory of the application DB context. And this is context factory. And we're going to do a control dot over here to initialize the field. Okay. So with the context factory, I'm going to say using, okay, it's trying to do that for me now. So I'm going to copy this and paste it here. And then, okay, now it's doing the job. So go to RSVP and for each event ID equals to event ID, user ID equals to user ID. Why it doesn't like it? It's because the type is wrong here. All right. Now it's better. So here, I'm going to do a control dot. Make sure it's in going status. Now, if the RSVP is null, so what do? I'm going to just return. I don't want to return Boolean. I want to return the ID, right? I want to return the ID. So returns the RSVP ID. But if the RSVP is 0, I'm just going to return. If the RSVP is null, I'm just going to return 0. Okay, so now that I have the RSVP at this point, I can set the status to what's not going, it is canceled. It's different from not going. Perhaps we don't even need the not going status. But anyway, I'm not going to change that. All right, so now it comes to the fun part, which is if the event has a ticket price and if it's refundable, then we have to go through this. We have to process or request a refund on behalf of the user. Right. So because of that, I need to access the event. So in order to access the event, I'm going to include the event. Right. It's pretty simple. We just need to include the event right here. And then we can say RSVP event. So I'm going to say if RSVP.event is not now, and at the same time, RSVP.event ticket price, it has to be greater than 0. And at the same time, event refundable has to be true, right? And now it's generated some code for me, but I don't need them. Okay, so right here, we're gonna process refund logic. I need a comment, but I don't need this. Okay, remember, in order to use Stripe to do that, we need to, first of all, provide the API key. So I'm gonna say Stripe configuration dot API, not API version, but API key, right? It's generating for me, but I'm not using this key. So here we need to use configurations. We can dependency inject the configuration right here. So I'm going to say configuration and control dot to initialize the field. Now I can come over here, replace this with configuration Stripe : secret key, right? This is what we have in the user secret file. Okay, so we have the API key here. Now we can try to process the refund. Okay, and okay, here I'm going to return RSVP dot. So in order to process the refund, I'm going to create another method. It's a helper method here. So I'm going to say refund, and I'm going to say void for now. Say process refund. Okay, passing in the RSVP is correct, and it's actually trying to generate this whole thing for me. Let's take a look. So it's generating a refund create options, which is correct. But I don't need to specify the amount, because when you specify amount, you are requesting a partial refund, right? Without specifying the amount, it's going to be the full refund. We don't need the currency because it's going to be using the same currency, but we do need to use the payment intent. We need to specify the payment intent ID. So this is the payment intent. So identifier of the payment intent. I don't know why they don't say payment intent ID, but it actually refers to the payment intent ID, which in our case, we store in our database as payment ID. And we can also provide a reason. Requested by customer. That's perfect. All right. So we have the options, and then we can use the refund service. And we're going to say service.create, providing the options, and we get the refund object. And all I need to do over here is I need to return this back. And of course, here I'm going to use the refund class here. Okay. And RSVP is going to be imported in the namespace. Now, once we have the API key specified, we can use the process refund, right? I'm going to say var refund, process refund. Okay. Now we get the refund object here. And we're going to store the refund object right here. And then I'm going to say RSVP refund status is refund.status. Okay, so whether we have the payment refund process or not, we have already changed the status. And it's time to actually save it. So we're gonna say context.save changes async, right? I'm gonna await it, and eventually we're returning the RSVP ID back. Okay, so now we have the service. Let's dependency inject this service in the program.cs file. Let's go over here, go here, and do a control dot import namespace. That's it. Now we need to go back to our slides. So we're working on this slice over here. Now it's time to actually use it. So we're asking, are you sure you want to cancel your RSVP for this event? Right now, we're going to use that. Let's go up over here. Let's inject RSVP, not RSVP, inject this cancel RSVP service. And then in here, we're going to use it to say cancel. Okay, cancel RSVP async. And we need to provide the event ID. So I'm going to say this.event ID. We need to provide the user ID. So where is the user ID? We're going to derive from the base component. Let's go over here. So inherit base component. And in our base component, we do have a user ID. We have user ID. It's a string. So parse it as an integer because it is an integer. So I'm pretty sure it's an integer. If it's not an integer, it's going to crash, and that's fine. I'm okay with that crash. Okay, so this is async method. We are going to call await over here. We do have async keyword right here, right? So this is going to return me the RSVP ID. With this RSVP ID, I need to, so after this, see, after we call in this, we have finished the cancellation process. We have finished the refund process, if there is one, right? So now we need to let the user know that your RSVP for this event has been canceled and your refund has been requested. So this is like a cancellation confirmation page, right? So we need to create a cancellation confirmation page. But first of all, we need to dependency inject this thing, navigation manager, and then we need to use it to take us. So navigate to, and it's not this URL, it's something else, which we don't have yet, but we're going to create one. So I'm going to say RSVP cancellation for confirmation. Okay. And we're going to pass in the RSVP ID. Okay. So now let's go ahead and create the cancellation confirmation page. So let's call it cancel RSVP confirmation. And I'm going to call it cancellation because there could be different type of situation, right? So I don't want to limit myself to just one type of scenario here. And of course, I need to have a page directive. And this is, let's go back to here. We got to copy this thing because it's very, very long. Paste it here. And this RSVP ID is a integer. So in the code block, I'm going to receive the parameter, and we're not going to override the onInitialize. We're going to override the onParameter set. Okay. And here, we will need to get the RSVP record, okay? And we need to use the cancel RSVP service to actually get it. And we can create it here. I'm gonna say get RSVP object by RSVP ID. Okay, it's trying to create this whole thing for me. Is it correct? RSVP ID, RSVP include the event, RSVP equals RSVP. I'm okay with this. So let's go back. And I'm going to create a private field here. So this is RSVP. Let's use this. I don't know why it has to be uppercase, but this is not RSVP event. This is just RSVP. So control dot import namespace. Now over here, I'm going to say RSVP equals to a cancellation service is not injected yet. Try to inject it. So cancel RSVP service, and now cancel RSVP service. Get RSVP by ID. All right, we have the RSVP over here. Now we can go to the top and try to create some messages. So this page is all about letting user know what has just happened. So here we can say if the RSVP has value. No, not RSVP has value. You can actually don't use that. We can say RSVP if RSVP is not now. If it's not now, then we can display some good messages. So it's trying to do something. Let's see. So here we have alert success, right? And it says your RSVP for the event has been successfully canceled. That's fine. And If otherwise, this is the error, right? It uses alert danger. It says unable to retrieve RSVP details. Actually, see, the reason why you cannot get a RSVP is because the RSVP ID. You know what? I think it's still better to use RSVP ID here. So I'm going to say RSVP ID if it has value. Oh, okay. So if RSVP ID is greater than 0, because we have RSVP ID and this is going to be passed in from here. And if it's greater than 0, that means everything's successful. Otherwise, it doesn't mean we were not able to retrieve RSVP, but it does mean that something went wrong, right? So an error occurred. While canceling your RSVP, please try again later. Okay. While canceling we can use the same thing for the event. Let's be safe. And we're going to say if RSVP, then we're going to do this. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I don't like this. So this means that in some cases, we were not able to display the message just because the RSVP is not loaded. Okay, so what I would rather do is if this is not, then we just don't display anything. Okay, now a crucial part. If RSVP is not, and at the same time, we have a refund status. And then we're gonna check the RSVP.refund status, right? If it has some kind of value there, that means we have tried to process the refund, right? So I'm gonna provide some information here because most likely, in most cases, the refund process requires several days, right? Several days. So it can, when you're testing, it can be instant, but in a real world scenario, the refund status could be taking a few hours to a few days. And we want to display the information over here. So your refund has been requested. The refund status is, and then actually trying to generate this for me, which is good. I think we're good. All right. So let's try to, first of all, build the solution. I'm not going to do a build and nothing is wrong. Okay. Now I'm going to run package manager to run a migration. So I'm going to add a migration first. So add migration, and this is to support, actually, let's just say support refund. Add refund ID, refund status, and payment status to RSVP, and let's run it. Okay, build succeeded, and it's generated this migration script, and I'm going to do a update database. And this is going to push the migration. You can see that from here, we're basically just adding 3 different columns to the RSVP table. Okay, now everything is done. Everything is done. Let's go over here, go to RSVP. Now let's refresh. You can see the 3 different columns are added. That's good. Now let's run the application. Should I run the application? Let's run the application in debug mode. But first of all, let's clear out all of the breakpoints, and I have no breakpoints. So I'm going to run it. Okay, so I think I have deleted all of the RSVP. See, I have no RSVP now. Now let's actually log in and try to VP for an event. Okay, I'm going to go to this event that costs money, and then I'm going to try to say attend, confirm, and then I'm going to make $250 payment. Right over here, I'm going to fill up my email address. I'm going to use the testing credit card number for Visa, and I'm going to click on pay. All right, something went wrong. So checkout process, payment intent. So what is wrong here? Session intent. Payment intent is null. Okay, maybe I should use this payment status instead of the payment intent. Okay, let's stop it and let's take a look at the RSVP. So we didn't create the RSVP yet, which is correct. Okay, and payment status. All right, payment status is correct. Let's run in debug mode again. Unfortunately, we have already made the payment, right? But that's why we need testing in Stripe. We're not actually paying $250. So let's go ahead and try to do the same thing again. Click on yes, make payment, and I'm gonna select my user over here and click on, is there anything wrong here? Is there anything missing? Oh, I didn't enter the credit card number. Okay, click on the pay button now, processing, redirecting back. Now I have an RSVP event, right? And let's check. So this RSVP told me that payment status is paid, right? There's no refund status. There's no refund ID because we haven't requested. Now, imagine that I want to, Where is my cancel button here? Okay, something is wrong. Let's go to manage. Is this the correct place? This is the component. Okay, cancel RSVP component. I'm gonna do a control dot import namespace. Okay, now it's good. Can I do a refresh? Confirm that doesn't have a property matching title. Oh, I don't have that. Okay, it's just generated for me. I'm gonna just delete it. That's a quick fix. And let's run hot reload. Okay, hot reload works today. Okay, so now we're gonna go through the cancel process, and that's where we want to debug. Okay, so when the cancel button is clicked on, which is this one, we're gonna set a breakpoint over here. Oh no, this is just a confirmation dialog. We're gonna set a breakpoint over here. Okay, so let's click on this. Why nothing is happening? Let's set a breakpoint over here too. Click on it. Nothing is happening. Is it because this is not actually being called? Maybe I just need to rerun it. Okay, so let's run it again. I'm still gonna set a breakpoint over here, and then I'm gonna rerun it. Okay, let's go to my upcoming events. I'm gonna click on the cancel button. Now it's doing this, and it's showing me confirm dialog, and I'm going to click on yes. Now it takes me over here. This is going to go through this cancel process. Now let's step into it. Okay, and then let's go ahead. So we're trying to get a RSVP based on the conditions over here, right? And we do have one. And if RSVP is null, so this is not satisfied, we're going to update the status. Right now it's going, right? We're gonna change that to the canceled status, which now it shows canceled. But we haven't actually saved it yet. We haven't saved it to the database yet. Now we're going to the process refund process. So do we have a ticket price? Yes. Is it refundable? Yes, it's refundable. I remember when I created, I wasn't refundable, but yesterday was when I was testing this process, I changed the event to be refundable. You can see this is refundable. Okay. Now, because it's a refundable, it's going to go over here. Now it's going to grab the secret key over here, and then it's going to go inside this, create the option, use the refund service to create a refund object. Okay, I got my refund object, and I'm gonna go forward. Okay, status, I got my refund ID now. You can see this is a complicated string, and then status is actually succeeded. So in a testing environment, you often get success right away, which is good for testing. Otherwise, you have to create a event hook, like a webhook, right? And when the status changes, your webhook needs to be triggered. We haven't published this to a public website, so a webhook cannot be created anyways. So coming back with a success, status is actually pretty good for testing. Now we're gonna save the RSVP. And then this should take us to the cancellation confirmation page with the RSVP ID, which is number 5. So let's go ahead, and you can see the status. Your RSVP for this meditation event has been successfully canceled. Your refund has been requested, and the refund status is succeeded. So that's pretty good. That's very good. That means everything is successful. And if I go over here again, I can't see the upcoming events because it's already canceled. It's in the canceled status, right? If I go over here and try to attend this again, so it doesn't make sense for you to try to attend again when you have already canceled that. So let's see what happens. We found out because this is a paid event, right? That means we are not doing the RSVP until we make the payment. So therefore, it take you to payment directly. So that's not good. Let's go to RSVP event footer component. And here, if the event has caused, it takes you directly over here. So this is wrong. So we need to make a decision here. We can only allow user to cancel the event and cancel the RSVP. So previously, when we tried to cover that case, so what did we do? First of all, the event has to exist. Secondly, the user has to already RSVP'd, right? So this, see here, this wouldn't be satisfied this condition, right? And then it's going to return back from here, return false. So based on event ID and user ID, if there's already RSVP exists, then this should return false, right? So even it's canceled, the record, we didn't delete the record. We just updated to be canceled. So this wouldn't be satisfied. So what I think I need to do is to create another method inside this RSVP event service here. And I'm going to just have a boolean here and let's call it can RSVP event. Yes, I can use this. And then I'm going to pass in the event ID, right? The email, and then it's going to basically cover logic over here. So I'm going to extract this out and paste it over here. And this is going to be an async method. So async task, and then eventually here, we're going to return true. So context, we're going to use this context, create a new context here. Okay. And then over here, I'm going to say can RSVP, right? I'm going to call this. And if not, I'm going to return false. So that's good. And we can use the same thing for the attending process. So let's go over here. So here, are you sure you want to RSVP the event? And we need to make sure that it is actually, you're able to RSVP. So RSVP event service, can RSVP event. We pass in let's delete the continue with code. Okay. And we're going to pass in the email. Do we have the base component over here? So what do we use for getting email inside? So see, this is the footer component, right? This is the component where we wanted to show up. If we inherit from the base component, I don't know what's going to happen. Okay. Base component. And then we need to override one thing. Let's go down over here. Let's override should clear section content. And we're going to say false because the base component by default is true, right? So when I say false, allowing the footer to be displayed. So now, of course, we have access to the user email. I'm going to say based user email, and then the event ID should be right here. Okay, so underscore event ID, and I'm going to await it. I'm going to say if can proceed, then we allow it to proceed. All right, let's try again. I think we got one error here. Where's the error? I saw one error. Let me build again and we'll see the error. Okay, we have this user ID thing. This is missing. That's because we extracted this method out. And this part, we actually don't need the user ID, right? We don't need the user ID. So we need to move it right back over here under the context. So we do need the context, which represents the database to get the user. Okay, so now it's good. Another thing is under here, right? This is the place where we try to attend. If this is false, which means that if we cannot RSVP the event, right? So we need to display some messages to the user. Otherwise, nothing is going to be happening and it's pretty confusing. So right here, I believe we added some message component. So this is the footer component. I remember we do have this error message. Okay, so we didn't use the message component, but we do have this error message variable here. So we can assign something, right? So here, cannot RSVP for this event. Yeah, we can provide this generic error message and then the user will need to figure out why this is happening. All right, let's give it a try. I still have an error here, user ID. Oh, we do need the user ID here. In this case, let's use email. Do we have email here? Oh, we don't have email. Yeah, we only have user ID. Okay, that's too bad. We have to duplicate this code. We need to get the contact database twice just for this. We could worry about performance, but I usually don't want to worry about performance issues until there's an indication that this is going to affect performance. And then we can extract something out, right? This definitely can be fixed, but I don't want it to be, I prioritize readable code to performance enhanced code. So this is more readable, so I'm sticking to this. Okay, so let's run again. Still have error. Oh, so this is the other error that we need to do the cleaning. And I don't know why, right after I install this new Visual Studio on this new computer, I have this issue. And there's nothing wrong with my code. It's just I need to clean it. And then after that, I do need to do a .NET build. So this is basically, I believe this is restoring all of the packages and should be okay now. I'm gonna run it and see everything succeeded. There's only one project succeeded, but there's only one project in the solution. Okay, so we go over here. Remember, we already have a RSVP record in our database for this user and this event. So now if I try to attend it again, so let me actually run this database query so that you know that I'm talking about this record, right? This record, we already have this record. And the reason why we don't see it under our manage manage whatever. Oh, so I was looking at the wrong table. Okay, let's go to the other one. Let's query. I'm referring to this record, right? This record, and this one has a refund succeed. So we already paid, but we were refunded, and the status of the RSVP is canceled. So there's a canceled RSVP. Therefore, we shouldn't be able to attend. Okay, so let's try to attend. Click on yes. This is still going. So we got to debug why this is happening. Let's go over here, run the debug. Okay, go over here, try to attend, click on yes, and let's step inside. So can RSVP the event? We're gonna get the user ID, and so we're gonna grab the event. If the event doesn't exist, it's gonna return false. But in this case, it does exist, and then we're gonna query the event ID, user ID, email. The email is passed in, the wrong email is passed in. So let's go back. Base.user email is empty. So it's probably because something wrong in the cookie. So let's make sure we log out and log back in, right? We're gonna log out and we log back in with the user, and we should have the email in it, right? And here we have a breakpoint. So I'm gonna attend, hit the breakpoint, and let's check the user. Still empty. Why is that? Continue. Is authenticated is false. Authentication state is null. Did we derive from it? So we did derive from the base component, which is our component, right? This is our component, and on initialize, we should be going this process. Set a breakpoint there and see what's actually happening here. So this breakpoint is triggered many times because many components are actually using it or deriving from it. We do have authentication state, and this is true. Another one. This is true as well. Another one. This is true as well. And another one. This is all true. So true. Now it's trying to load this page and load it. No, not yet. This is also true. It's true. So everything is true. I don't know why. So if I click on this attend button and then click on yes, now the user email is false. So what is this base? It is base component. That's very interesting. Let me set a breakpoint here outside. Okay, let's continue. Let's remove this breakpoint and continue. And we need to go back, go to the event, and then click on attend. So from outside, let's see. We still don't have it. I did inherit. Why do I have this authentication state? Okay, so I have authentication state because I wanted to log in. Since we already derived from base component, so we don't even need to use this. All right, let's comment this code out. I can even comment this out. And then over here, I'm gonna check the base is authenticated, right? So if it is already authenticated, if it's not authenticated, then I'm gonna show this dialog. Let's run without debug. All right, so let me test this. So going to attend, and then it shows me this. So this dialog works, right? And if I log in first and then go to meditation event, try to attend again. Okay, so this doesn't work. For some reason, this inheritance doesn't work. I can choose to troubleshoot, but another way is to actually just use the authentication state provider inside it. Oh, I already injected this. Why do I have all of these? Maybe it was because of this injection. I don't need this. It's not being used here. Let's delete this and let's delete that. I'm suspecting it because I injected things and maybe messed it up. I don't know. Now I have already logged in. So if I attend, it still says I'm not logged in. That's very weird. I don't have the time to actually troubleshoot this. So let's try to get authentication, the claim from the cookie, from authentication state in here. So I'm going to get it from here, get the authentication state provider, do this. Okay, so inside here, I need to get a user email. So I'm gonna actually remove this because it's not working for me. And let's remove this as well. And now we just need to get the user email. So how do we get the user email in the base? We just basically follow the same approach. So let's go to shared folder. Where is that? Base component. And then we're gonna get the user email like this. Let's copy this. So var email equals this. And then we're gonna pass this email in here. Okay, now let's set a breakpoint in here and then run in debug mode. Okay, I'm already logged in. I have a cookie there. Go inside, go out, go inside, go out. I was trying to look at this bar here because it was showing. That's I'm not worried about it because this application wasn't shut down. So that's why it could be because of there's some status there still hanging on. The meditation event, click on attend, and then I have my breakpoint triggered. Let's see whether I can read my email out. Okay, I get the email, and then I'm going to remove this breakpoint. Okay, and I'm going to cancel it again and click on attend, and it asks me again. I say yes. So now let's see whether I'm allowed to. Now it says I cannot RSVP for this event. Yeah, this is correct because I've already did it. It's not showing right here. It's not showing right here. That's because we need to do a state has changed, right? Because this is happening within the Lambda expression, right? This is not going to automatically rerun the component. So let's run without debug now. Everything seems to be correct. And let's go inside here and do attend, click on yes. And it says cannot RSVP for this event, right? So this is a correct behavior. What I would do is we will test this whole thing again. So how do I do that? I'm going to delete from the RSVP table. Okay, there's only one record, so I'm going to delete everything. And now I'm going to do the RSVP first. I'm going to do RSVP this event. Actually, what I would do is I'm going to test this free event first because we have a pass to go there and we haven't actually tested. So this one doesn't require the refund. So it should be immediate. And it says your RSVP event has been canceled, right? This is canceled and you don't see it. Right now, if you go in here and try to attend, it's going to tell you you cannot do it. So this is the correct workflow. Now, if I go over here to attend this event that has a price, then again, it says I cannot. Why? I probably didn't run the RSVP statement properly. So let's delete that and let's query this. We have no RSVP. And then let's stop this and rerun it. Let's go to this event and let's try to attend this. Click on yes. Now it takes me to make payment. I'm going to make payment. Select this and I'm going to use Visa. Click on pay. All right, I've paid. Now, if I go over here and try to attend it again, it says I cannot because I've already attended this event, RSVP for this event, but I can cancel the RSVP, right? I can click on yes, and then it says your RSVP for the event meditation has been successfully, your refund has been requested, the refund process, the refund status is succeeded. So it looks correct, right? And now if I try to RSVP again, it displays this error message. Everything looks correct, and that's all for this video.